Hello and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I am your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
Today we are looking up. James Gunn has officially put his stamp on the Man of Steel. The new Superman is here last month, soaring into theaters with a fresh cast, a new tone, and the monumental task of rebooting one of the most iconic superheroes in pop culture history. Again. But in a world where superhero fatigue is real and audiences are more skeptical than ever, could this latest version rise above the noise, or is it destined to be another forgettable cape in the crowd? Today, we will dig into what worked, what didn't, and whether the new Clark Kent can truly stand tall in the shadow of his predecessors. And here to help us dissect the new Superman is a lovely return guest, Ivan Calixto, who joins us, dare I say, bathed in a Kryptonian glow.
I'm not sure which Superman was the one that had the glow in the Fortress of Solitude. I feel like it's a couple, but I'm sticking to the original, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think the Christopher Reeves films had that, I think.
There you go. Yeah, because it definitely wasn't Zack Snyder's. That stuff was very, very muted and dark.
So this is a deliberate lighting choice on your part, Ivan.
Deliberately, unintentionally. Yeah.
It works.
I try to find the best spot to record this because today is like a very noisy day around the building. So
is maybe the same effect is what people see when Clark Kent puts on his glasses? They were kind of inferring it's throwing off what people see if they look into his glasses for Clark Kent versus Superman.
Something like that. You can't quite tell my double chin here, like, so that it's masking that a little bit. That's what it's doing for me.
Oh, the Steven Seagal lens, yes. We talked about that in Under Siege too, Anton.
What is it? You just add a lot of grease to the lens.
Vaseline.
Add more butter.
Just stick it up, zabba zabba. Well, this is going to be a fun one. Really quick, though, if you are enjoying Why Wasn't It Better, make sure you're following the show wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, whatever, so that you never miss an episode. We're on all the major social media platforms. Links to all of those are in the description. And if you really like what we're doing and you want to help keep the mics on, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/WWIB podcast. You can support the show by getting access to episodes a full week early and ad-free, plus access to bonus content. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, Anton, let's talk about this film and introduce it. The rare new movie that we're covering. We don't do this often.
Nope, but it's always a good time, so let's do it.
Let's do it. Superman was released on July 11th, 2025 by DC Studios, Troll Court Entertainment, the Safran Company, and Warner Brothers Pictures. Written for the screen and directed by James Gunn, based on characters from DC Comics. Starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, Edie Gathegi, Anthony Carrigan, Nathan Fillion, and Isabel Merced. The budget was $225 million, and the box office, as of this recording, is $579 million with an 83% Rotten Tomatoes score. Anton, why did we choose Superman?
Well, we always enjoy doing episodes where we talk about films in theaters, but this one is one that we've hinted on in previous episodes, right?
Yes, and yet it's still an accident that we're covering this.
Hey, good times.
You're here accidentally, Ivan. Because
I was surprised.
Ivan is a little.
There's more to it. There's more to it.
Ivan is a little Kal-El on a spaceship sent over to. Why wasn't it better? You were a happy accident for us.
The original plan was for us to cover F1 this season, and then Anton just never made it to the theater to see it. And then I belatedly realized, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I saw Superman. You saw Superman. Why don't we cover Superman?
I was going to text you both about, like, why aren't you covering Superman? I feel like it would be...
I don't know.
Be a good fit.
There's no great answer for that. Because, Anton, you are right. We have teased this. In fact, on the last episode... No, the second to last episode that Ivan appeared on, Batman versus Superman, we were talking about this film and our expectations for it.
Right, and the importance of this film. This is like a really big film for the DCU. So I think that everything considered, listeners, we did this on purpose. Everything that Pat just talked about, the happenstance of how we got here, again, it was all part of the plan.
Somehow.
I enjoy this though, because I feel like I love you guys' retrospective on movies that have come out already, and I feel like I get a big kick out of like revisiting films we haven't seen. I haven't seen in a hot minute, but this is one of those things that I feel like is like a big tentpole moment at the moment, just because like I feel like a little bit of a shift, and we can talk about it later. But like comic book movies have been in a bit of a lull lately, so this to me was a little bit of a change.
And this character, we talked about this on Batman versus Superman. I think all three of us were mostly in agreement that really since the 1978 Richard Donner film, Superman has not really been given the proper big screen treatment.
No, not on the big screen.
No, I mean there were of course 3 sequels to that film. I would say each one of them got progressively worse. The 4th one is considered one of the worst films ever made, and then nothing happened for almost 20 years until Superman Returns in 2006, directed by Bryan Singer. I think interesting to look at, but pretty boring.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, released in 2013. It certainly has its fans, but it did not resonate with audiences the way DC was hoping for. We covered the sequel to that, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. I absolutely hated it. I mean, Anton, you also gave it an F. Ivan was a little bit kinder, mostly because he worked on it.
Yeah,
bias on my part,
but
a little bit biased.
It's a clearly a new age for Superman. A lot was riding on this film in the same way that Kal-El's parents were riding on him to succeed with dominating Earth with a harem. Is that our Superman lore?
Was that Bradley Cooper's idea?
Must have been. Must have been.
I gotta say, I didn't realize he was in this movie when I went to see it, and I was not expecting that.
I had no idea. It was a very fun surprise.
For the first second, did you think it was perhaps a mistake?
No, because I thought about it. Hey, this is James Gunn. Anything goes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Jimmy Gunn, DC, and Warner Brothers, they turned over the future of their cinematic universe to him. A lot was riding on this film. It seems like it's doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, it's between this film, Fantastic Four, and Jurassic World, all releasing around the same time. Jurassic World is far and away succeeding compared to superhero films, but within the superhero film lens, this one is outpacing Fantastic Four by a bit.
Can I give you a quick sidebar on Jurassic World?
Oh, sure.
Do you know what the plot is about?
No.
Okay, so don't laugh.
Mm-hmm.
They need to go to an island to recover dinosaur DNA so they can make heart medicine. Don't laugh.
Okay.
That's unique.
That's
wasn't
actually the plot. I'm not making that up.
How close is that to Jurassic Park 3?
Sort of, but not close. I don't know.
They have to go to a dinosaur island they think the parents just want to check out the island, but actually it's to retrieve their son.
So, have you seen it, Pat?
No.
I'm curious if it's the same dinosaur island that we've seen before, or
no, it's a different one with reject mutant dinosaurs. All the mistakes that they encountered during the cloning process, they put them on this island, this new island.
So the trash bin, essentially.
Yes, the island of misfit dinosaurs.
That's wow. Okay, are they unique at all? Then, like, is that a thing? Like, do they have unique designs on these? Like, here's a dinosaur with. I
believe some of them do. I was looking at some of the concept art, and some of it resembled Resident Evil creatures.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know how much of that made it into the film, but
I want to see a T-Rex with full-grown arms and not the little tiny ones, like the most over-exaggerated muscular arms on the T-Rex. Like that. There you go. Like, that's your villain for the next Jurassic Park.
Like it actually can reach like the next shelf to get the cereal.
Like, imagine how dangerous that is. Like, all of, like, fully functioning arms. You're like, oh, damn.
Wouldn't it just be a giant raptor at that point?
Yeah, pretty much.
But raptor, it's just a full-scale raptor.
Right.
Well, no, don't raptors. They're a bit more agile. T-Rexes.
Yeah.
They're track runners, and the T-Rex is more like a
Shot put.
I apologize for
Yeah.
derailing this episode already, though. Let's bring this back to Superman.
See, this is the power of Jurassic Park. Like, we're talking dinosaurs pretty extremely.
Not anymore. I'm cutting us off.
There we go.
Did you mention this came out around the same time as F1?
Yes, and as you know, life finds a way.
Life finds a way, yes. Yeah, it seems like this has been doing really well, and I'm glad. I think we all are. All of us on Batman versus Superman episode were very hopeful for this film. You know, James Gunn, he had a lot of success with his Marvel contributions until he got fired and then rehired.
And this film actually had something like even more impressive to me than like Superman on film. It had something on screen that we've never really had before, and that is the first ever live action film Green Lantern that looked cool and was cool.
Yes, you're right. Is this a different iteration of Green Lantern?
So this is not your typical like Green Lantern that I think people think of. That's usually Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner. What we got was backwoods PE teacher Guy
Nathan
Gardner.
Fillion.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion.
How many lanterns does Earth have? It's like 6, right, or 7?
There's so I mean,
That's too many.
it depends.
It's way
what
too
year.
many. Yeah.
In the 90s or late 90s to early 2000s, there were 4. Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner,
John
what was
Stewart.
yeah, John
Right?
Stewart, yeah.
Those
Barry
are the ones I
Bonds.
know.
Oh, actually no, 5. Alan Scott.
Did you say Jon
Well-
Stewart?
Yeah, from the Daily Show.
Right. Yeah. This is everything you're talking about is one of the reasons why I don't like comic books. People are like, I want to see the Grand Lantern. Oh, which one? It's like I don't know. Like I don't know.
Pat is you've entered into the part of the conversation where like Ivan and I will just start pulling out our like bins of single sleeve comic books and
We'll start adjusting our glasses to like, actually.
actually
Well,
let me-
I think that's one of the reasons why I like Batman so much. It was because it was just like Bruce Wayne. That's it.
or
Well,
Dick
wait
Grayson
till-
or
No, that doesn't. None of that counts. There's one Batman.
nope. Dick Grayson was clearly Batman based on issue number 656 back in what was it, 2009.
Superman. A lot of it didn't work. A lot more misses than hits. We agree with that when it comes to these movies.
Yeah, it's a very agreeable.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, I
really
agree.
wanted to like this. Ivan, you said you've seen this 6 times.
I've seen this 6 times, courtesy of AMC Stubs. This is one of those movies where I think maybe I've talked about this with Anton, but like Force Awakens, I saw like 15 times in the movies, in the theaters.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
I know, I am too. Honestly, after seeing the other 2, I also probably should have used my time better. But like, it's one of those films where, like, for example, I think the first showing I saw was on a Thursday. It was with my friend Sandra. She's like probably the biggest Superman fan I know, and I got it just because I know she was super into it. I wanted to watch a movie for the first time with her for the first time because we mostly see it like the second or third time together. But yeah, it became this thing where like I feel like I started reconnecting with other folks that are like, hey, have you seen the Superman movie? And I'm like, yes, I have. But it kind of brought a couple people back in that were kind of jaded from comic book films. And as word of mouth kind of spread throughout the week, yeah, I started hearing people being like, yeah, I'll give it a shot if you want to go. So I basically just kind of tagged along with a lot of these folks.
You have an advantage over me then, because I've just seen this once.
Yeah, I've seen this twice, both times at a drive-in. And by the way, the second time we went was this past weekend.
Oh,
and
nice.
And it was packed. So I'm like, I'm
It has
shocked.
legs.
Did you like it more or less?
I liked it more, probably. Like there was
Nice.
like little things here and there that I was just like, this is still really cool. Like I don't want to jump too far, but like when Luthor is like just telling Superman why he hates him while he's like yelling all of the the cheat sheet fight commands to Bizarro Superman. I love that scene.
Okay. I tried to take notes in the theater, which is kind of a mistake. So correct me if I get anything wrong. By the way, was that Bizarro?
There's
No.
a lot. There's a lot of. Ivan said it. No, like that's not actually Bizarro Superman.
Okay. Because I didn't see him. I didn't see Bizarro's name mentioned anywhere,
that-
like online in like
But
a
that is a
synopsis or
clone.
anything.
That is a clone Superman.
Okay.
Well, they did something different with it, right, Anton? Like they used the name Ultraman for him. which
Right.
in the comic books is
Is
not
there
not to
there
get
is
into too much of it, Pat, but like there's an alternate dimension reality where there's an evil version of Superman,
Oh, sounds stupid.
but he goes by the name Ultraman in that universe, and so
But I
that's the
thought
character
Ultraman was the superhero from Japan.
n-
Well,
See,
you
this
can
is
tell-
already.
I can't tell if you're
God
I
damn it.
can't tell if you're trolling us really hard right
I'm,
now.
I'm really not. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, okay, they
Okay,
cloned
okay,
Superman.
okay.
Why call him Ultraman?
So there's I mean, look, they're probably doing that just so they have some sort of uniqueness to this film. But then it is probably a callback to the Earth 2 Superman, which is it like in some multiverses it's Earth 2, but Earth 2 Ultraman is like an evil version of Superman. But the way that he's portrayed is more like your typical bizarro, low intelligence Superman clone.
like
Okay.
mobster Superman, I think.
All right.
I want listeners to know right now I am married.
I'm not going to let this affect my rating of this film, I swear. Because already this is like, why? This is already too much.
Well,
Pat,
here's
you're just-
the thing is like I don't think it matters at all, right? It's just like to people that are in the know about it, you're like, oh, cool, this thing, this little detail from this thing I read a long time ago. But I think for general audiences, you don't care. There's no like,
No, I don't.
There's no
I
connection
don't.
to it.
I don't.
Yeah,
plus,
and,
like,
and it doesn't mean it doesn't influence or affect the plot at all.
No, it doesn't. And I have to
Yeah.
say a very, very big point in this film's favor, because I'm going to heap praise on this film, just to the delight of you both. It does a wonderful job of handling people like me who I knew almost none of these characters.
and I think that is the most amazing thing that we need from this film is
Yes.
that you can go in and just enjoy a film, whether you're a huge nerd like myself and Ivan or Pat, who
Oh, I'm
may
a
not
nerd,
have-
just
I was
not
gonna say,
for
but not
comic
not
books.
I was gonna say not the same. You are your own huge nerd.
I sure am.
Not for maybe for DC Comics in the same way.
And for the record, I like the DC animated series, the series of films that's on HBO Max right now, most of them. I've seen a lot of them, and I really like them.
You know, Pat, I just thought about this. I would have loved if you'd came to if you had Ivan and I go head to head on some trivia for this episode.
Oh, we can schedule something like that. There's no
That'd be-
reason why we can't.
That'd be fun. I mean, not to put Ivan on the spot. I just think that's always fun, like nerded out.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that as a special episode now. Then
That sounds like a Patreon exclusive.
I think
Okay.
it might be. We should do it. Yeah, we
Okay.
need to do one. We're gonna do one for Harry Potter.
I'd
a
fail
real-
Harry
real
Potter.
Name all four of Earth's Green Lanterns. Name Earth sector.
Yeah, you'd lose me there. I can maybe tell you 4 out of the however many there are now. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Production history for this film. Going back to the 2012 year of our Lord, prior to the release of Man of Steel, Warner Brothers was hoping for sequels, of course. They wanted a shared universe, which eventually became known as the DC Extended Universe. And I was surprised to learn that has been shuttered. This is a new DC universe. Kind of like the Earth, whatever things you were talking about earlier. Despite Man of Steel and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice failing to meet studio expectations, they still planned on another Superman sequel. And this would have seen Henry Cavill continue to play Superman. Matthew Vaughn was the studio's top choice to direct at the time, but problems began to arise during the very troubled production of Justice League, which was released in 2017. Plans for a Superman sequel stalled. Before the release of Mission Impossible Fallout in July 2018, director Christopher McQuarrie and Cavill pitched their idea for the next Superman film, partially inspired by the animated film Up. It's kind of weird, but Warner Brothers wasn't interested. As early as 2018, the studio asked James Gunn to write and direct their next film, but he was hesitant to commit as he did not have a clear vision at the time. But he chose to make The Suicide Squad instead, calling it, quote, the easier path. That film was released in 2021 in the midst of the pandemic and was a box office bomb. At this point, the studio seemed to have no idea what to do with the character. And on the Batman vs. Superman episode, all three of us talked about the extreme incompetence of DC Studios and Warner Brothers at that time. Around this time, they spoke with several filmmakers about the future, including J.J. Abrams. In April of 2022, Discovery and Warner merged to become Warner Brothers Discovery, we're still feeling the effects of that. One of the mandates of the new company was to search for an equivalent to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige to lead the new subsidiary. Anton,
Ooh.
please.
So Cavill made a cameo appearance in the post-credit scene of the DCEU film Black Adam, released in October 2022, and WB was reportedly pursuing a Cavill-led Man of Steel sequel once again. They now wanted McQuarrie to direct, but he was still committed to the next Mission Impossible film in past. Now, Gunn and the Suicide Squad producer Peter Safran were announced as the co-chairs and co-CEOs of the newly formed DC Studios at the end of October 2022. They made it clear that Superman would be a big priority, if not the biggest, for DC Studios. So, without invertedly saying it directly, Black Adam did close the chapter on the DCEU. What an end. By the end of 2022, they met with Cavill and informed him that they would not be asked back, as they wanted to take the character in a different direction.
So
And
Cavill was fired.
Depends on who you ask. A lot of people were really, really pissed about it.
We
Really,
could
really
spend 3
upset.
hours talking about that drama, by the way. There's
mean,
a lot of, there's a lot of interesting things that happened during that time.
There's a lot of people holding up signs. Cavill did nothing wrong.
Maybe he didn't, but I mean, you agree he was fired, right? I mean, it wasn't his decision to leave.
So,
Well, he wasn't on contract. He just wasn't asked back.
He was fired.
I mean, Pat, you're being is Christopher Reeves fired if not renewing his contract?
Well, that's different.
well, they got a little, I don't know if you guys have seen any of those interviews for the press junket stuff that they've done, but I think, was it Josh Horowitz on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast recently? I think I was watching it a bit ago, but James Gunn kind of got into it a little bit about what happened. From my understanding, from piecing it together, what ended up happening was he got signed onto the studio to reboot everything, essentially. Around that same time, there was issues with Dwayne Johnson going, I guess behind the backs of the new heads of the company. And basically, the older heads of the studio gave an audible okay, or an audible green light, to Henry Cavill coming back with the promise that there was going to be more, but nothing was ever really inked on paper. And so while it's just a matter of, again, what we talked about previously, is just how poor communication and how much of a shit show, I guess it was, for lack of a better term. That's what it comes down to. I wouldn't take it to mean that he was fired, though, because I feel like that would mean that he actually had all this stuff. There was a salary promise. There was a whole deal worked out. They did string him along. He was given the short end of the stick here, and it sounds like from all parties involved, they all feel that's exactly what happened with Henry.
Yeah, was Henry Cavill fired just as much as Jason Momoa was fired as Aquaman? No, I wouldn't say so.
I think they were going to move on from him either way. I do find it interesting, though. I saw this, I think it was the same podcast you're talking about, Ivan, where James Gunn said, it was really unfair what happened to Cavill, but it's but it was he could have brought him back if he wanted to, and he didn't. I think if Cavill wanted to come back and they were like, we're good, he was fired.
I guess it's like from a certain.
That's how you get fired in Hollywood, unless you actually get fired on set.
So
they fired Pierce Brosnan from Bond the same way at a time, where everyone was expecting him to be back as Bond, and they were like, we're actually good.
After Die Another Day?
Oh, no, you misspeak, sir. That was not his final appearance as Bond.
Oh.
Remember, he was in Everything or Nothing, the video game, in 2004.
That's
Die
true.
Another Day made more money than every other Bond film before it. Every expectation was that he would be back, and then Eon was like, no thanks.
Is it bad? I thought all that happened in the 90s. Hearing the year 2004.
It is a long time ago.
Hearing the word 2004 threw me for a loop there. I was like, wait a minute.
I'll just say it. I don't love hearing Henry Cavill got fired. I don't think that's a proper interpretation of events. But yeah.
He wanted to come back and they were like, we're good.
Yeah. And that's fine. Doesn't mean he was fired. He didn't have a contract.
Okay. It's kind of like sports, though. He wasn't fired. His contract wasn't renewed. He was fired.
Well, yeah. If you have a 4-year contract, they let you walk.
He didn't not get the job. He just got ghosted by HR. Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah. Oh well, I don't have any sympathy for him. I didn't like him.
Yeah. There we go. And listeners,
he was a bad Superman. He sucked. Sorry. I'm way happier we got this guy David Cornsweet.
Which, by the way, I don't think anyone saw this version of Superman, with Cornsweat's very limited semi-villain role in Twisters.
Right. Where he
I don't
was swindling people out of their homes.
Yeah, he was what was it, like consulting bro, like helping to figure.
He was working for Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah,
We gonna help you out with your house now.
here's $5,000. Give us your home.
We gonna take care of you. You can trust me because of my bolo tie.
Now go watch our episode Twisters for more on that. So in early 2023, Gunn and Safran announced that the first film in their vision would be released in July 2025 with the title Superman Legacy. Gunn said the film would take specific inspiration from the comic book All-Star Superman, as well as the animated shorts from the 1940s, and the animated series from the 90s, as well as various other comics. So production design, costume design, and casting began as far back as April 2023. Gunn was looking for an actor to play Superman who possessed the character's humanity, kindness, and compassion, and was, quote, somebody who you want to give a hug. David Cornsweet became a top contender for Superman after Gunn saw his performance in Pearl and was set to do a screen test by June 2023. Jacob Elordi, Tom Brittney, and Andrew Richardson were also in consideration, though Elordi declined to read for the role. Patrick Schwarzenegger, Pearson Fode, and Jack Quaid all submitted self-tapes as well. Oh my god, I just can't imagine Jack Quaid as Superman. Sorry, I can't.
No.
That's just super silly. Maybe as Jimmy Olsen, but that's about it.
Stickman Jimmy Olsen.
Yes. Legendary. Nicholas Hoult actually pursued the role of Superman initially. That's a really fun little story. Emmy Mackey, Rachel Brosnahan, Samara Weaving, and Phoebe Dynevor tested for the role of Lois Lane. When the WGA strike ended in September 2023, Superman Legacy was expected to begin filming in early to mid-2024. Principal photography began on February 29, 2024, which is Superman's birthday in the comic books. Now, filming took place in the Adventdalen Valley in Svalbard, Norway, for 1 week to shoot scenes featuring the Fortress of Solitude. The entire film was shot using IMAX certified red digital cinema cameras, and filming was delayed from an initial January 2024 start by the SAG-AFTRA strike and was expected to last around 4 months. Filming at Trilith Studios in Atlanta, Georgia began in March and lasted until August. Additional filming took place in Cleveland and Cincinnati for another month. And the title was just changed to Superman. So we have gone through the production history, Patrick's distaste for Henry Cavill, and my enjoyment.
I don't have anything against him personally. He was fired.
You just said you hated him.
I hated him as Superman.
Oh, okay.
I think he sucked.
I want to add one thing onto this whole thing real quick. You said Jacob Elordi turned down reading for Superman?
Yeah, how does that work?
According to GQ, he said he turned it down because he thought it was, quote, that's too dark for me.
So he clearly didn't read it.
It's like, did you want the role or not? Like, what?
It was for the best. Okay. It was for the best.
If I've ever been convinced there was an actor in Hollywood that couldn't read, it's also Jacob Elordi.
Yeah.
I have two thoughts on that. Number one, he would have sucked just as much as Henry Cavill. Number two, it's funny you say you don't think he can read. You know he's playing Frankenstein's monster in the new Del Toro movie?
Oh, he can't read, but he can feel.
Have you watched the trailer?
It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we're going to cover it.
Yeah. It's alive.
Victor! He does look like he would not be a good Superman.
He looks like someone that he pulls up to the gas station and you tell him just go pay with cash inside the gas station. He wouldn't figure out how to do it.
Would you say he looks like a Garrett Hedlund?
Well, Garrett Hedlund is always going to be number one on my list of actors that can't read good.
And who want to learn to do other stuff good too.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. So they changed this to just Superman, which I thought was interesting because technically the original movie is just called Superman, even though a lot of people call it Superman the movie.
It was a good choice.
I think so too.
I mean, thankfully to Google search algorithms, if I do search for Superman, the 2025 version does pop up first.
It does. I also noticed that. Well, let's talk why wasn't it better then.
All right. What's number one for us, Pat?
This isn't really why wasn't it better, because I have the first reason listed as the tone.
Okay.
First and foremost, they nailed the tone. This is exactly what I was hoping from Superman. Optimistic, bright, colorful, little Norman Rockwell, if you will.
You get the middle America Clark Kent that I don't think you always get in the live action films. You definitely didn't get it with Kevin Costner.
I was gonna say they tried there, but
Yeah. But like this was legit, like, wow, like middle America corn-fed Superman. That's awesome.
So by that, was Henry Cavill's Superman more like big city, jaded, probably like public transport commuter Superman?
asshole Superman. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah, no, this is I don't know how else to put it, but they made this Superman very dorky, like very human and dorky in a very endearing way.
I loved it. All that where he was just like, "Gosh darn it!" All that stuff. It's so great.
It's how you would expect him, like just knowing Superman's the Boy Scout, right? And I think this is one of the things that I thought was a fantastic writing was the tone of Lois just asking Clark or asking Superman about or just talking about their backgrounds. Lois saying, I was really into punk rock. I was more of a rebel. And Clark's like, I'm a rebel too. I like, what is it? Forget the name of the band in the film, but she basically says, that's like literally a band for posers.
Did you know that James Gunn made each character their own playlist that is available on Spotify?
It's very fun. I really enjoy that.
I can't think of the band either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but like it's like I think it's the equivalent of saying that you're really into punk rock, but all you listen is to the Aquabats.
Yeah, I see that.
But there's something about it where instead of making it just annoying or feel like there's just a heavy message that's being treaded over us as we watch the film, it just felt very genuine. It felt very sweet.
One of the first things I wrote down when I got home from seeing this was great to see Superman actually want to save people and not look like a miserable jerk who's doing everyone a favor.
He gave some pretty hard looks to that dog.
I feel like I said, my first viewing with this was with one of my good friends, Sandra, and she and I have gone to every DC film together. I remember us getting out of Batman vs Superman. We saw it at the AMC in Times Square, and we just did not speak a word to each other until we got out into the street. And she just looked at me. She's like, "What did we just see? Like, what was that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like here we had the complete different, and like I saw the reaction in her too, like getting really into the film. It was something that I feel like it wasn't just it primarily was a script, right? But like the performances just really elevated what was on there. But the Superman that we got here, there was something I said in the last in the Batman vs Superman episode that we that where we last talked about DC, and that's the fact that like a lot of directors are like bringing the hero to our world and kind of grounding him and doing all that. And I really wanted to see us be taken to that comic book world unashamedly. And I feel like this movie does that. It didn't do anything too drastic to the character to try to ground him in any sort of reality. They didn't sprinkle like the level of cynicism that I guess was the attempt at giving us like an edgy Clark for the Zack Snyder universe. And it was nice. It was refreshing. Yeah, he was a Boy Scout all around. And it was the first time that we see a project in theaters for Superman, where they do that to Superman without trying to be funny about it. They were just genuinely just bringing Superman out of the comic book page. And it's been a while since we've seen it, because on live action Supermans, I haven't felt this since the Christopher Reeve Superman. We could make the argument that the TV show stuff might, like I think the Tyler Hoechlin show that they did recently for HBO, I thought that was also nailing Superman. For the small screen, it would never, I think it would never fly on the big screen, but I was just happy to see that again, and happy to see that the reaction of people has been so positive.
I was so happy as well. And nothing was more indicative of that. Like the scene where they're all fighting the kaiju, and he's doing everything in his power to prevent innocent bystanders from getting hurt. Like to me, as a casual viewer, like that's Superman. You know how he gets real annoyed with the rest of them because they're all like amped up to be fighting this thing. And he's just focused on trying to keep people safe. You know, you can see him getting frustrated by all the collateral damage. I think it might be a very, very subtle middle finger to Man of Steel.
I can definitely see that. I also think that overall, the writing to even present this situation, I think, as more palatable than Man of Steel, because the universe that we get brought into with Man of Steel basically no one's ever seen anything like this, right? Like no one's ever seen alien spaceships. No one's ever seen superpowered beings like this. The level of destruction that happens to Metropolis, it becomes like their level of like horrible events in history versus like this film where the kaiju events happening. People are still having conversations in the office. They're like, like we'll start running in a little bit. And I think like even that level of like world building allows us to be a bit more comfortable when we see the scene, and we don't have to think too much about what is Superman's motivation here, because we're also have to deal with how people don't know how to react to Superman. They already know. And
Right.
so I think like the film is really smart about that.
That great shot where he saves a squirrel.
Yeah.
Just like little things like that. The tone, it's just what a success from James Gunn. He said about the character, and I wrote this down because I think it really rings true to what we're talking about. He said, quote, "How can you take a character like this who's perceived as old-fashioned by many? There have been so many different permutations of the character throughout the years, so how could you do it for a modern audience? I knew what I wanted to do in creating a story that was both utterly human and utterly fantastic. It has all the fantastical elements that we've seen in the Superman movie. The flying dog, the giant kaiju, pocket universes, science and sorcery, and all of these things that were in the old Max Fleischer cartoons," end quote.
Yeah. And that's the passion, I guess, for filmmaking that you get with James Gunn. Quick question, like, are you guys like, where are we with our I guess reception of James Gunn? Do you guys like James Gunn?
Mine is mostly positive. I feel like I have some criticisms that I feel like a lot of his movies kind of feel a little bit similar in some respects. Mind you, there's three things that I really praise James Gunn for. Number one is like he knows how to allocate the right time to the right characters in an ensemble to make it seem like each one has that level of importance that they need, but not focus too much on each. He has a very fine eye for being able to bring a comic book character to life and treat one that's, especially the ones that are more in like obscurity, and be able to like give them the attributes that a general audience could latch onto and like kind of catch up on with. Because if you show somebody like the Suicide Squad film that he did back then, I feel like you'd have a fonder appreciation for that movie versus the Suicide Squad that was tried beforehand. And then the last thing, his use of music is just like peak for me. Like I never walk out of a James Gunn movie without looking up some of the songs that he uses in his soundtracks, because he has a knack for being able to tie popular music down to like the characters that he's putting onto the screen.
My answer, Anton, is I don't know, because I've only seen 2 films that he's directed. The first 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. I really liked the first one, and I really did not like the second one.
Didn't you? I thought you'd seen Dawn of the Dead.
The Zack Snyder movie?
He wrote it. So I guess, maybe that's not... I wasn't necessarily just speaking to stuff that he directed.
Oh, I didn't even know he wrote that.
Yeah, he wrote that.
I mean, I did like that.
And did you know that he wrote Scooby-Doo?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
I did not know. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so my answer for you is I just don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I went into this thinking, I hope this is more like the first Guardians of the Galaxy than the second. And I think there are similarities, but I think this is still pretty different.
Yep.
Which is kudos to him, because, I think he successfully recognized the fact that what I did on Guardians of the Galaxy is not going to work for Superman. Superman is a very different character. It's a different setting. Here's my question for you, Bose. If Disney hadn't fired him briefly and then rehired him, by the way, we can agree he was fired.
Yes, because he was.
Right. Unlike when someone tells you they don't want you to come back to work, it's not firing them. But so they rehired him to make Guardians 3, right? Would he have probably never ended up doing the Suicide Squad, and he might not end up running things for DC and making this film, right?
Probably.
I think he got asked that in that same interview I cited.
Oh, did he?
Earlier.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
He basically said that he didn't have any interest in running Marvel, because that was the whole thing. Like, I don't know, like, and again, I don't want to get too into the weeds on it, but like, I feel like the feeling internally had always been that James Gunn was the successor for Kevin Feige over at Marvel. Yep. And from that interview, it seemed to kind of confirm that was the feeling internally. But he fessed up that like he felt like he didn't want to do Marvel because he felt like it was something that was more Kevin Feige's baby, but also he always felt more impassioned towards DC than he did Marvel growing up. And that being said, a lot of the Marvel interviews that he's done on press junkets, looking back now, there was a lot of like, oh, like this is the DC thing I really like, and he talked it up a lot. So I think I don't think it necessarily. I think the firing from Disney is what propelled him to it, but I don't think that if that hadn't happened, that it would be an impossibility.
Yeah,
To get to this point.
The one area that I'd also say that fits really well in that narrative is the character choices that he's made for what he's wanted to work projects on to start out with DC. Of course, the big guy, Superman, but then otherwise it's been very, very obscure characters. And then even then, Superman, you have a lot of obscure characters. If there's ever been a deep cut that like someone's a fan of something, it's trying to kick off your new cinematic universe with the Creature Commandos.
He is clearly a fan of this. So if we talk about nothing else in this episode, it's just he proved that the Boy Scout character Superman can work in the Roaring 20s. Yes, we're in the Roaring 20s.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I think, and I just want to kind of tie it back to, if you like James Gunn, and Ivan, you said it, there's something very similar about his stylings. The tone of this film is very James Gunn. And so I think that consistency, that tone is so important. It's not necessarily just like the optimism, because you'd agree that this film isn't just optimistic. There's a lot of scenes in this film that really do show a bit of cynicism, of like kind of the jaded nature of society. Like it really does kind of balance it out. Luthor, like I think definitely showed a lot of that other side, if we're talking about the positivity. But I think it's with that balance that it shows a bit more of a maturity from James Gunn as well. So overall, I think a great tone.
This is, I felt his growing up or coming into, it's like a coming of age thing. I feel like just watching a bunch of the James Gunn projects that he's directed, written and produced as a whole other thing, I feel like, but like the stuff that he's directed himself, it feels like a natural evolution for him. But also, like, again, like he brings in those solid elements from like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like Lois Lane doesn't feel like an afterthought in this movie.
I'm so glad about that.
And she's also not. It could also be like the wrong choice of actress for Zack Snyder. But I genuinely feel like the 80% of the problem with Zack Snyder's movies was a script. It wasn't necessarily casting. It wasn't, because I feel like if you have the right script, any actor can make it work to some degree. But this, like, for example, here, like, we have a bunch of characters. I don't think any of them outshine Superman in his own film, but I do think they serve to complement him quite a bit. You have Guy Gardner, who's the polar opposite of Superman as Green Lantern. There's your cynicism. There's your character that's like kind of the more representation of like the everyday kind of guy in that space, right? But then you still have room for a character like Mr. Terrific. You have room for a character like Jimmy Olsen, and all of them play like enough of a role in this film to feel like we got. I don't think any of them, I feel like we had just enough of it, but like they played a good enough role for us to say, okay, cool, we had a decent bit with Lois or with Hawkgirl or with, I think Hawkgirl might be a little bit different. Most of these characters got enough screen time, I think, to appreciate some of the more higher qualities that they have.
Yeah, one last thing I want to put out here is that I don't want there's a bit of I think like a misconception around James Gunn and like kind of the style of film that he puts together. I don't think that if there's ever been criticism of tone, or at least criticism of his kinds of films, is that the comedy's too much. I think that people who come to see this film, they'll probably be like, I feel like it's a bit balanced. I feel like the comedy is really well placed. I think that the comedy being too much is probably more of being more critical of comedy in superhero films after such large swings of overcorrecting from like a Taika Waititi Thor film, which that was a bit too much, and I think that really soured fans.
Completely agree with you, Anthony. Yeah. The humor I thought here was just the right amount. I was a little worried about that, like, oh man, are we going to get the potty humor that he used in Guardians 2? No, No, none of that.
It was the right amount. It was used in the right times.
Ivan, you were getting it right into the next reason, which is the cast. One of the other things I wrote down when I got home from seeing this is the casting was perfect. Not great, perfect. A plus. There was not a single performance or actor in here that I thought was miscast or misfired. Starting with Superman himself, David Corenswet. Anton, we were kind of joking about this earlier, but other than that small part in Twisters, I am completely unfamiliar with him. He is a wonderful Superman, and most importantly, also a wonderful Clark Kent, because you have to be both.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dichotomy because Batman, just to kind of talk about another famous DC character, there has to be a good distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman, but with Superman, I feel like Clark Kent is Superman. And you get a lot of that in this film, that the core of like who Superman is just his upbringing, who he is as Clark.
Yes.
And I think that is what grounds it in reality. That he's so believable as like just a guy that got raised by the right parents that really does strive to do the right thing. And not all actors can, really sell that.
He really sells the gosh darn, and it's believable. To your point, it's grounded because of his performance.
Did you guys see the post-credit scene with him and Mr. Terrific?
Yep.
No, I didn't know there was a post-credit scene.
That was the best gosh darn moment from Superman out of that.
Darn.
Yeah,
Gosh
because
darn
it's a whole like it sums it up for him in the package, just like the Superman of the comics, the Superman that clashes with Batman in the comics, like the one that's hopelessly optimistic at all times, which then like in the comic book world you're like, okay, thank God, because this guy could probably crush all of us if he wasn't. But on the casting, I have never seen the guy that plays Jimmy Olsen. I've never seen the more Jimmy Olsen, besides maybe the guy that played Jimmy Olsen in Smallville, which then they ended up doing like a whole thing with like, oh, he actually wasn't Jimmy Olsen. He was Jimmy Olsen's older brother or something that happened later on.
Yeah, that's so funny you mentioned that. I didn't realize that was the Jimmy Olsen I wanted until, I saw the film, because I always thought of Jimmy Olsen as a lot more like
dorky?
just a Superman fanboy. But like, no, instead we get a sidekick that's very capable and has his own personality, which we wouldn't get if it weren't for a really strong performance. And so I'm going to have to go ahead and, of course, give shouts out and credit to our very own Wendell Pierce.
As Perry White?
Just kidding. No. Yeah, Skylar Gisondo, who I really enjoyed in Righteous Gemstones. So it was really cool to see him in this.
I'm with you, Ivan. I hadn't seen him either. I didn't know Jimmy Olsen could be such a stickman.
I don't think he's not written like that in the comics.
Well, it's a great change from the comics then, because not only do they make him a stickman, which is just funny, but they use it in the plot.
Yeah.
So there's a payoff. It's great.
It's not a throwaway. It's really crucial.
Every woman wants to bang him in this movie, and they take advantage of it.
Did you notice, like, on his like desk at work, there's just the image with him and like two girls over each arm, or like with an arm around each one?
Yes.
It's so funny.
He's got a game.
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
He's got all the game in here. I love how dorky he is with Clark, though. That little dance they do. Making Clark such a dork was just, again, the right call here. But the best thing about, I think, back to Cornswet really quick, he's not a robot like our guy Henry Cavill. He goes through, like, he has all these different emotions that he goes through. We see him with a temper, right? Mm-hmm. We see him with a sense of humor. So he's really a three-dimensional character in both sides of it. Now, I mean, you guys have seen it more than me. Correct me if I'm wrong. We don't get a ton of Clark Kent in this movie. It's really pretty quick.
In which film? In
this film. There's not a ton of Clark Kent in here.
I'd argue you get Clark/Superman is the whole film. Like,
no, but I think he means like Clark, as in like civilian Clark.
Like we don't see much of him like being a reporter. You know what I mean? Like that side of it.
No. That's a good call. No,
I don't think it's a flaw. I just there's just not much of that, because we'll talk about this film's runtime only being 2 hours, which is a huge plus. Huge plus.
Maybe if it was a different film where they felt the need to really dive into like his background and more of his origin, maybe we get more of like a.
Well, we had just enough, I feel like, to give us what we need, right? Like the scene in the farm with Ma and Pa Kent, which, by the way, also perfectly casted Ma and Pa Kent.
Yeah.
Because, like, not only do they look like Midwestern parents, not only do they sound like Midwestern parents, but, like, they seem, with the few minutes of dialogue that they have, that's, like, the right layers that you see reflected on Clark. It's almost like you don't have to have too much of an interaction with them because you've already seen him kind of play out the whole, like, I guess his belief system, right? Or for lack of a better term there. But
yeah.
It's that quick chat that he has with his dad in the front yard. That's all you need out of that. That's all you need to kind of affirm that's where he gets that from.
Sorry, you don't need Kevin Costner putting his arm out like. No, Clark.
No, son.
No.
A weird Kevin Costner performance.
It's still amazing to me how we had that film back then, and the thing is like those are two excellent actors for Superman's parents.
Yeah.
But I would have hired them had the roles been a lot more substantial in those films. I feel like it wasn't really worth hiring Kevin Costner. Was it Sally Fields for
Diane Lane?
Was it Diane Lane?
Diane Lane, yeah.
Why do I get her confused with Sally Fields all the time?
I don't know. They don't look anything alike.
In my mind, somewhere they do.
I think Sally Fields. I think Mrs. Doubtfire.
Amazing Spider-Man, right? She was Aunt May.
Yes.
Sally Fields.
Oh, she was. Yeah, she was.
Who was Uncle Ben in that? Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
President Bartlett.
Wow, what is it with the castings?
And who was Gwen Stacy in the original Spider-Man?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh my gosh!
Hell yeah!
What a waste though in that
and he wanted to date MJ.
Yeah.
Well,
that atrocity of a film. We've covered it, Anton. Spider-Man 3.
I gotta listen to that.
Would that be worth revisiting?
If only just to like clown on Peter Parker for not dating Gwen Stacy.
I've seen weird revisionism on that from people. Like, oh, Spider-Man 3 is good. That movie stinks.
All they have to do is watch the last portion where he's fighting Venom, and they're like, this was not a good idea.
I'm telling you, that the scene with Eddie Brock in the church where he's praying for God to kill Peter Parker, I was like, this might be the worst thing I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
Parker!
Yeah.
Anyway,
this back to this film.
Back to this film. We like this guy that played Superman. We also like Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Lois Lane.
Just clap, all the claps, all the accolades.
Best Lois Lane ever, and it's not close.
It's like, do you think she gets a nomination for this role?
No,
I would say no, because they don't take these kind of movies seriously usually, but she's great.
I think she gets a Golden Globe nominee at least.
I hope she does.
Yeah, because like this is such a not just a well written role, but my goodness, she just does a fantastic job. She's just a driving force throughout the whole film.
She has stuff to do.
Yeah, like interrogate Superman.
One of the highlights of the film for sure. And you know what? They feel like a real couple. Like their chemistry's off the charts. They clearly like each other. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I felt like.
I feel like there's maybe one other Lois Lane that I felt like, okay, that to me is Lois Lane in media, and it was the Lois Lane in the in Superman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I was talking about live action.
Yeah, but like live action, it's just not even close.
I appreciated how their relationship in this film is more or less the core of the story. They keep it consistent throughout the film. You know, they are the two central characters. They remain the two central characters for the film. She doesn't get sidelined for like chunks of the film.
Well, and you know, something that I'm sure the both of you noticed, not once was she a damsel in distress.
Exactly.
That, and she held her own with the other super people, right? The superpowered beings, metahumans, whatever they're calling them here. Because I feel like they shelve her in the Zack Snyder films so much. Where they're like, hey, look, they go out of their way to be like, she's a reporter. Look, she's doing reporter stuff over here.
That's
in
it.
The subplot.
But
it never meshes in with Clark as much as it does in this film, where she uses, like, you don't need to say she's a reporter. You need to kind of, like, show that. She's using all that intuition to kind of backtrack and figure out what's going on inside. She's an active player.
Yeah.
More of an
she's
active
smart.
player. Yeah.
She's smart. She's capable. She's more than willing to put Guy Gardner through mental gymnastics.
Right.
And
he figures out that he's in the pocket dimension, right?
Essentially,
or she gets them to realize that he's in there to get him out of there.
Yeah. She's if she's not there, you don't get Mr. Terrific.
I had no idea who he was. He's great.
Oh yeah, super fun character.
Is he? He's an obscure character, right?
I mean, what's obscure depends who you
kind
ask.
of.
I've seen a lot of the DC animated movies I mentioned that are on HBO Max. I've never seen him in one of them.
He's been in a few of those.
Yeah,
I didn't see those ones.
He was. I want to say he was maybe in like Crisis of Infinite Earths. If you're talking about those ones that are in HBO.
That one's not ringing a bell, but I've seen a couple of Superman ones that he's not in.
And his character was for sure in Justice League Unlimited. If you ask like a DC comic book fan, are you familiar with Mr. Terrific? If they read the comics, it's like, yeah, like, one of the core members of the Justice Society of America. He's a big but if you ask your average person who's Mr. Terrific, they probably don't know.
Well, to give you an idea, I feel like if you were to ask this question about Iron Man back before the Iron Man movies came out, you'd probably get the same, like, yeah, he's kind of an A player, but not quite. And then it kind of blew up after his films came out. So that's the level of.
I definitely knew Iron Man before that, though.
Yeah, but like he's tied to the idea of like the Avengers back then. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Mr. Terrific has definitely had more than enough exposure for people to be like, okay, I know I have a general idea of who he is, but I don't know anything else beyond the look.
Would you say fairly obscure?
I mean,
probably.
Okay. I would say
I think
I'm speaking from my peers, the general.
I'm just trying to say, like, if you tell me, like, is this an obscure DC character, and you say like, Wildcat 2, I'd be like, yeah, Wildcat 2 is a very obscure like DC character.
I would say most of those Justice Society characters are obscure.
Kite Man. If I told you Kite Man, would you be like, that's an obscure DC character?
Yes.
Like, yeah, that's a pretty obscure DC character. But someone like Mr. Terrific, who's like leads the Justice Society, one of the main superhero groups of DC Comics, I wouldn't say he's an obscure character.
He's a B-lister.
Okay, I agree with that. He's definitely a B-lister. JLA, that's A tier. That's like tier 1.
That's what I'm talking about. He's a B-lister.
He's like Ringo Starr, but he'll never be Lennon. Or
he's a great addition to this. And then we need to talk about the villain, Luthor. Nicholas Hoult.
Dude, Nicholas Hoult, didn't know he had it in him.
I saw this coming.
He is outstanding in this.
What's that, folks? You heard it here. Ivan called it.
I saw it coming.
Oh, you knew this would be good.
Well, I've seen him. Have you guys seen The Great on Hulu? I think it's Hulu. I'm not entirely sure. It's the Catherine the Great story, basically.
No, I haven't.
He plays a excellent, like, likable villain, essentially, there. So I've seen him play it, and I see some elements of that type of performance coming into play here. So that he could pull it off, I feel like he could have, but I also feel like he's one of those higher caliber actors that kind of surprises you, depending on the role that he's taking on. Like, I don't think I've seen a single Nicholas Hoult project where I'm like, I don't think that he was the right fit for that particular character.
Yeah.
What I'm about to say, I mean, no disrespect towards the late, great Gene Hackman. I think Holt's my favorite Lex Luthor.
It's impressive. And
I would agree. I think I'm there with you, Pat.
I think that what's really interesting about that is Gene Hackman represented a Lex Luthor of that time.
Yes.
Lex Luthor is involved in the comic books, and Nicholas Hoult perfectly portrays that. Now, Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor,
I thought was good, as controversial as Spacey may be.
Yeah.
He was a good Luthor.
But he definitely represented an older, but accurate, but older interpretation of Luthor. This is one of the most modern Luthors we've ever gotten. Like, this is like Jack Luthor. Like, you know what I mean, Ivan? Like, we got Jack Luthor in this.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Jack, yeah. I thought the same.
The semi-obscure B-lister Jack.
I'm calling this now. There's going to be in the next Superman film, or one of the future films in DC, Nicholas Hoult is going to like take off his shirt. He's going to be super ripped, and he's going to be also he's going to have like a kryptonite knife, because that's what he had in the comic books.
He definitely nails the charisma that Luthor needs. We've seen interpretations of him as like the sociopath that he is, but Holt has he's like the full package here. Like he has the narcissism, he has the supreme intelligence. We see that on display because he's supposed to be one of the smartest characters in DC. Extremely sarcastic. And he also has that I wrote this down as like the upper class disdain that he displays for not just Superman, like anyone else that he deems like inferior to him, including his own employees. Because like he obviously hates Superman, and the film covers that in really good detail. Like of course he explains why he hates Superman. But I found his interactions with all of his employees like just as entertaining. Like he's like in a way, Anton, kind of like Voldemort, where he's like barely tolerating them because he knows like I need people to work for me in order to achieve my plans, even though I hate all of them.
He's so eccentric, like Voldemort.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes from James Gunn when he put together the playlist on Spotify for like each character is like you can look at the different songs that really kind of exemplify like some of their qualities. And I mean, I think about like the songs listed for Luthor, and if he was going to walk into a room and like Fame by David Bowie is playing, that fits, that tracks. It's just it's not just the fact that he's like a super talented, smart billionaire that hates Superman. It's also he's gonna do it while wearing like Versace sunglasses and like a $20,000 parka.
Like while he's taking a selfie.
Yeah, like he's very eccentric, and it's just a very fun take. But he's also very dangerous. That was clear.
I'm glad you pointed that out, the danger aspect. He's not just running some goofy real estate scheme with kryptonite. Like, he actually feels like a real threat to Superman.
Like when he shot that guy?
I was going to say, I wrote that down too. I was not expecting him to go that far in the Russian roulette scene.
Because it was like one round, okay, and then like they did not draw it out.
No. They don't draw anything out in this movie, which is one of the best things about it. It's only 2 hours. It's pretty sparse. They use every minute efficiently, I felt.
Ivan, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Luthor that had like the monkey sidekick in the comics?
Yeah. Well,
or was it Brainiac?
No, he had a couple, if I remember correctly.
Like the same kind of monkeys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it was very comic accurate. Okay.
Did you guys pick up on the fact that like given the henchmen that were working for him, there was one that he kind of showed a little bit of affection for, and that was the engineer, because he mentions he like name drops her during that fight when she finally falls unconscious in that final fight with Superman and was it Ultraman, and her in the stadium. You get little bits and pieces of him kind of being like, it feels like he knows her a little bit more on a bit more personal level, I guess. But it's little things like that. I didn't catch it the first time, to be honest with you.
That's
the second
a good
time I noticed.
Yeah, it's a good call out.
I still saw that as affection for his creation, even if it's gonna like take out like, okay, like he's punching like my engineer, he's punching my fake Superman, like that's mine.
That's how I would read it the second time I saw it, but then by the third time,
I mean, he said he definitely seems to value talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's how he was looking at it. But you've seen it more than me. I had forgotten about that, but that's a good call out.
Well, she was the only one that he doesn't really mistreat. That and the servant that he has that's driving that thing within the Pocket Universe. What do you call him, Mr. Handsome or something like that? The really weird, ghoulish looking creature that's
driving the little train thing.
Yeah,
in the
those are the
dimension.
only two henchmen that he does not like verbally abuse in this film.
Versus, we didn't get a lead bodyguard, Mercy. Remember from the animated series?
That's who I thought the engineer was kind of replacing until you and I had that whole conversation about the elite,
authority,
right? The authority. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
which is
okay.
Talk about I'll tell you this, Pat. That's obscure. The Authority, Stormwatch, Planet Watch, the Engineer, that whole thing. That's very if you're not even if you're into comic books, that's a different universe of comics. And James Gunn looks to be really gung-ho about we're gonna do a full-on Authority film. So hey, if he sells it and it does great, like I'll be really impressed.
Can we talk about that scene real quick when they find out about the Pocket Universe and you got that fight scene with Mr. Terrific against the, I forgot what you call them, the little flying troopers from Lex.
I forget what they're called, the Raptors.
Yeah, there you go, the Raptors. On that Floridian beach
versus with his T-spheres.
Yeah, with his T-spheres. That was very James Gunn to me. Like if I were to pick out like the one scene that I'm like, this is what makes it a James Gunn movie, it's that scene with a like blaring music track playing with some sort of like action sequence happening on there. And it doesn't, mind you, it doesn't always work for me because I feel like to me it's all about balance of tone, like whether or not like does that scene take you out of the movie or not? And I feel like in here it fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
In some other of the James Gunn's movies, Guardians 2 with Pat, I agree. I feel like they kind of took it a bit too far in a lot of places. But here it's just like it's kind of like the cream on top, I guess, of the dessert. I really enjoyed that scene. That's one of those things that I feel like I could go back and rewatch it a couple times and still get the same enjoyment out of it.
I have to see it again now. I have to catch up to you 6 times over here.
I mean, I agree. It's a great scene. And like, I think the casting, just to kind of go back to that, like a lot of it's not believable if we don't have great actors playing these characters. Even just that little, what is it, the Justice Gang? Everyone comprised in the Justice Gang. We have of course like our Mr. Terrific, which we've gone on and on, like fantastic. How else are you going to be able to put, how can we put an obscure character up front? But then also kind of going back to it, how can you put an obscure Green Lantern up front for people? Also, Green Lantern I think is a popular DC character that's more obscure for the general public. But then you also put famous actor Nathan Fillion in there,
no stranger to DC.
Which love me some Nathan Fillion.
We all love Nathan Fillion. He's been doing another voice version of the Green Lantern for years, of course, in their animated stuff. I'm sure that was deliberate on James Gunn's part.
I told you this on the phone, Pat. I really wish that they'd made Drake's Uncharted Nathan Fillion like live action a long time ago.
Yeah. I think we all do.
I mean, he's still a great actor, but I think that window is closed.
You know what's not closed? They could finish The Rookie with a 3-hour film. in theaters.
Right. Is that a Paramount series, The Rookie?
It is, yeah.
Because so I've walked on the set for that on the Paramount Studios. I just wasn't sure if like another studio was borrowing their set. I actually feel like I'm missing out because I know Nathan Fillion's like the lead on that show. You like it, Ivan?
It's my I'm gonna play it in the background while I'm working show. You know,
okay.
I feel like I don't have to pay attention too much to it. So I enjoy Nathan Fillion in it. I wouldn't say it's like top tier television by any stretch. It's just fun. It's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And then what about our Metamorpho? How do we like Metamorpho?
Fine.
Yeah. He's really only there for the kryptonite bit, right? Like I feel like it's not. If you remove him, it doesn't take too much out of the plot. But I don't know. He's the one addition to the cast that I was kind of like, we can do or do without. It doesn't really matter too much. But he's needed for that plot point for the.
One of my questions for you both is: are there too many characters in this?
I would feel like there are.
I don't feel like there are. I think that there's. If I had to, pick nits, maybe it's like there's a lot of characters to follow along, but I think I get it for the film. Like I get it in the sense like this is the film to kind of set the tone for the universe. So why not just introduce characters? Maybe we don't get personally I don't think we got like the best Metamorpho background and story. There's still so many questions about him and his baby. But maybe it just sets it up for the future. We get a better Metamorpho story.
At first, I thought there were too many characters, and I think in certain sequences it feels like an ensemble piece, and I wish Superman had more to do. But I remember one of my problems with the earlier Superman films is they were so devoid of other characters who mattered. That I'm kind of grateful for this. And in some ways, this reminds me of a lot of the animated stuff that I like from DC, which are always chock full of characters. So it reminded me of one of those movies in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there might be a bit too much for my taste. I do agree, Pat. I feel like this feels a lot better than previous films where it feels like we were devoid of more characters. I think though, I don't know, like it. There's certain things that kind of made me think, and again, I'm looking at this through the lens of a comic book nerd, right? Like you get
Hmm.
Metamorpho in there. I kind of expect him to be a little bit of a beefier player than just like the kryptonite provider, just because of the baggage he comes with or the background he comes with.
Yeah.
You got the engineer there setting up the authority. Okay, but it feels like you could have probably had Mercy play that same role.
Well, I was gonna say, but Ivan, I mean, like, there's a lot of characters in this film that's like you
Yeah,
just named
yeah,
two that are like scratching the surface. How about Rick Flag Senior being in the film and like that
Grillo?
barely get. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like that's like pretty big, but he's gonna have a bigger role in Peacemaker season 2.
The reason why I don't really have too much of a beef with that is that they don't really focus on him at all. He's kind of like a passerby character. He's not. There's nothing in, like we don't spend the. He doesn't interact as much with the main players of this for me to feel like okay, well,
Versus Metamorpho got like a film poster.
yeah, essentially. I'm like, mind you, I don't think this is like overflowing with characters. I just feel like they probably could have shaved a little bit of that off, and we still would be in good shape. But I do understand the world building aspect. It's just
Yeah.
that I always worry that we're gonna get into Iron Man 2 territory where they're like, oh wait, let me before we continue with this important plot point, let me set up Avengers 2. You know, so,
No, that's fair. I think the only like the character for me that I felt or the characters for me that I felt like cool, but really did we need this much or did we really need or what did they really set up was Metamorpho. I was a little disappointed, and then also Hawkgirl.
Yeah, I could see that. I
Which is
wanted like 10% more Superman. Like, I wish he had a
yeah.
little
No.
bit more to do.
I wish that we had more Hawkgirl. I think that the DC animated Hawkgirl from the Justice League Unlimited, very different character, but at the same time, in this live action, she just felt like someone in the group. Know what I mean? It, to me, just felt like more like a background character.
It's a different iteration too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course it is. And then, of course, Supergirl.
just real quick, just a real quick.
Pretty
little-
funny, where she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I go to other planets to get hammered.
Yeah, just her exit, like later, bitch.
Yeah, pretty funny. I wrote down, I don't know if I needed that much crypto.
I personally, I loved Crypto in it. I really liked it. I don't think that there hasn't been like a real Crypto in live action. So
No.
with
no.
what they are able to do with having like a dog actor and CGI, I was actually really impressed. This also isn't what we typically expect of Crypto from the comics.
Speaking of what we don't expect from the comics, I have a very important question for you both. How do we
Okay.
feel about making Jor-El and Lara essentially villains who want their son to colonize the Earth?
Oof.
Ooh, man.
It's certainly
Does
at
it-
odds with everything I knew
Ivan-
about Superman.
Ivan, this is like all I gotta say is it tracks with their society because they have the most horrific torturous device, which is the Phantom Zone, which is that's where they throw their criminals. It's like in a torturous like dimension. Maybe they would want to dominate Earth and create like super harems.
I think it's like, as a comic book nerd, yeah, it kind of bothered me a bit. But the thing is, like, you gotta separate that from the film itself and what the film itself needs, right? And so for this, the big focus was like this, like almost nature versus nurture question about like the people you come from versus the people who raise you. So to me, because it served to fundamentally push that especially that really nice ending at the end,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was fine with it. Now, if we come back later on, and now all of a sudden we get into the very Krypton heavy storylines, we get like General Zod and all this other stuff. Then, if this is what we're sticking with, yeah, there might be a bit of an issue there. But if Jor-El and Lara aren't a big deal for the long run, this is fine. Like, as long as it serves the story well, I'm not gonna sit here and pick nits on it, you know?
I was shocked though. Like I did not see it coming. I think my reaction was probably the same as Superman's of like what?
And then I think the film does a good job of having Luthor use it against him, which
Very
is
smart.
yeah, very smart. I didn't know what to think. It caught me off guard. I thought they made it work for the film, for the story. So there you go.
But not something I would have thought of.
I wouldn't have done it personally because I feel like there's too much like Krypton-esque or Krypton lore that kind of still.
Krypton.
Yeah, they're very. It's very untouchable. I feel like it's like that was Krypton, that was Jor-El and Superman's mom. Sorry, I don't remember her name.
I think Laura.
Lara. Okay, Lara.
Ooh,
But-
I knew something you didn't.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There we go.
Oh.
But
I also know that Marlon
yeah.
Brando would frequently pronounce it Krypton.
Yep.
Krypton.
I think. Well, honestly, it's because of like that same portrayal. Every like animated series version of like Krypton, it did feel very untouchable. Like that's not
Right.
Like why would you portray them in a different light?
You're like, no, Jor-El's cool.
Right, like I want to like Jor-El. I don't like what this is the guy from Silver Linings Playbook. That's not Superman's dad.
I was more shocked by the Bradley Cooper cameo than the actual like harem thing. It's like
It was a little jarring, kind of took you out of it.
It's like, what's he doing in this? You know what else took me out of it a bit? And this is where I'll mention some things that kind of lost me. The whole clone of the hero thing and the pocket dimension stuff. I'm like,
It was obvious it was going to be a Superman clone the whole time.
yeah, I was like, okay.
I
The
kinda
plot was
pardoned
pretty
it.
silly.
Yeah.
Well, his costuming, it's really interesting, is actually really close to the same costuming of the Doomsday character in the comics, with like the goggles and before he
Well,
gets
the
like
suit,
revealed.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just enough hints that it's like this is something of Kryptonian origin or related to something Kryptonian.
I wasn't too bothered only because I feel like because of the whole like we're setting up a whole universe thing. I'm sure with that whole announcement that they're doing Teen Titans, at some point we have to introduce the concept of a Superboy and all that. So cloning is a big deal in DC, sadly, to some degree. Mind you, the stories are worth it, but that plot point that little tidbit kind of feels overplayed on a lot of things.
Yeah.
What I hope they don't do, though, to be honest, with us here, like I hope we don't delve into too much of a whole multiversal thing, because let Marvel play in that sandbox. I feel like you don't need to be touching it.
I agree.
Unless you have a really, really good story to tell with that, let's maybe wait a couple years before we jump into that and like have something that's actually cohesive and not crazy.
I wanted to throw another comic fact towards your way, Pat. In the comic books, and Ivan alluded to this, Lex Luthor created a Superman clone in the 90s named Superboy. His name is Kon-El. Not only is he a clone of Superman who's a teenager, he also has the DNA of Lex Luthor.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, it was disturbing in the reveal in the comics, too.
I didn't like the pocket dimension stuff also just from a simple like movie making perspective, whereas I thought all the stuff set in Metropolis looked great. I liked all the action there. I liked how it was filmed, the cinematography. But the pocket dimension stuff and like the black hole stuff, it was like this giant CGI mess. I just visually didn't find it very compelling.
It also wasn't explained very well. Like, what was it? It wasn't antimatter river. It was like some sort of proton river. And I thought, oh, that means you can't touch it. But then Superman's swimming in it.
Yeah, I didn't even know what you gleaned more from it than I did. I was like, I don't know what this is.
But then, yeah, the whole black hole.
And it's not treated as that big of a deal by the rest of the people in Metropolis. Like when it's over, they're like, whoa, that was crazy, huh?
That I think that's just part of the world building. They're like, look, we get attacked by something crazy every day. This is just another Tuesday.
I don't envy them.
For you, that was the day that Bison entered your world, but for me, it was Tuesday.
Well, it's like they have a whole Justice Society building, and if you see, there's like murals about past
the Hall of Justice
fights and stuff they've had.
Good point.
Which again, I didn't catch until like my third viewing. I was like, oh wow, they have a whole sequence of events, like a timeline painted on the.
Well, the Justice
building.
Society is on there.
Yeah, so I guess to some degree they're like, oh well, the world's ending every 3 years or so, or maybe like the way that we view presidential elections are like, oh, They're like every 4 years.
This is
there's
the
like
most
an Earthshaking
important black hole in our lifetime.
This one's worse than the 1968 one. That's how they're dealing with things.
That Hall of Justice too, like both of you guys, like you must have seen like the Super Friends show back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like back in the Hall of Justice.
That was before my time.
Whoa,
It was.
whoa,
It was.
jeez.
I was gonna say it was before all of our times. I think they made that show in like the '60s or the '70s.
I've never seen it myself. I gotta like I've seen like clips and stuff, but like I don't think I've ever. Oddly enough, I've seen the G.I. Joe cartoon.
Mm-hmm. That's different.
What do we think of the score?
I thought it was very well done.
I love the add-on to John Williams's vibes of music there, right? Because it's essentially that with a little bit of a modern riff to it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Nothing amazing, but they were wise to use the Williams stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a couple points. Miss Tessmacher's in here, which I appreciated. Did you notice in the credits there's a character named Otis Berg?
Otis Berg, okay.
One of the henchmen is named Otis Berg. Love it.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
What is that going on?
Just a meaningless Easter egg for the original Superman movie.
Yeah.
It's not
just
important to the plot. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, it's just also very silly.
But that's James Gunn for you, right? Honoring the past in like a unique way, I guess.
Oh, did you see the way that James Gunn honored hot women by like featuring hot women in his film, but for no other reason than to just put them front and center?
I noticed. I did.
It's another criticism of Gunn, typically, but
why is that a criticism? We go to the movies and see beautiful people.
I mean,
very honest take. It's a very honest take. Okay.
I don't want to see ugly people when I go to the movies.
I do if I'm seeing a film about ugly people.
Fair.
Like I don't want to go see. I don't want to see Zoolander if it wasn't about male models.
Male model,
right?
Yeah. And I don't want to see beautiful people appropriate roles from ugly people.
That's true. That's true.
Like, what's that newer movie where Sydney Sweeney is playing like a boxer?
Oh God, Sydney Sweeney.
And she like makes herself ugly. It's like, you took that role away from an ugly person. How dare you?
Otherwise, this is going a very dangerous path for conversation.
Do you need me to edit this?
No, but it's just like we need to save that role for like real ugly actresses.
Right. Like whoever the listeners want to imagine right now when they're listening to this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't make attractive people ugly in Hollywood. There's enough ugly actors that they should get those roles.
What's like? Remember, what was it when this is very off, but like Ben Barnes, when Ben Barnes was playing Jigsaw in one of the Punisher seasons, and like they go out of his way to mess up his face at the end of the film, and then it's not a film, it's a
the
show.
Series. Yeah, it was like season 2.
And then the next season, he's acting like he's all ugly, and he takes off the and it's just Ben Barnes with a couple of cuts here and there. And I'm like,
he's still very handsome.
I was like, don't pretend like that's like impeding you from living your life.
There was like a film that we covered recently. We talked about like Steve Buscemi being on screen, and I was like, oh man, like they had to do so much work to get like Steve Buscemi's like costume on. He looked like he looked so horrific. Like, no, that's just Steve Buscemi. But
I did want to ask you guys something though, something that has been on my mind with this film for a bit, especially you, Pat. I feel like I've been on a lot of comic book podcast stuff here, both here and other stuff, but like with you having like very little interest in comic book stuff outside of this, like does this get you interested in seeing what else is popping out of DC here, or is this just like, well, this is a good one, I'll go see the Superman stuff, but it doesn't really get me hyped up for this world that they're building here?
I would see the next Superman movie, but no.
Okay.
I have no interest in learning about Metamorpho Miss Man or something.
What about the next Batman that's now in this universe?
So you're talking about the not Matt Reeves Batman universe?
Yeah, because apparently they're gonna keep them separate. Like Matt Reeves is gonna have his own thing, and then the Batman of this universe living within this Superman world is gonna be a different character.
I don't understand it, and I don't like it. and I don't get it. And the last Batman movie was 3 hours, and it was a slog to get through. And look, I'll be honest with you both. It's like it's been 20 years of comic book movies. I'm losing interest. I think a lot of other people are. I think there's a reason why this didn't make $1 billion. I think there's a reason why a lot of these films aren't making $1 billion anymore. It's just run its course. Anton, we've talked about this on other episodes, like kind of like Westerns, kind of like a lot of other genres. Like they wax and wane, they go in and out of style. It's been a long run for comic book movies.
Yeah, and I'll just speak to the other side of it, Ivan. Like, I'm biased, but I am excited because this film still was able to make, like, $500 million, and I think that's what DC needed. That's what Warner Brothers needed. And so if we wanted a continuation of this, which, like, I'm sure you agree, like, if we want more writing within, like, the DC universe, something different than what Marvel's doing, this does feel different than what Marvel and Disney are doing. This needed to do well, and I think it did just as well as it needed to. And it makes me excited for the future of it.
Well, I asked because it's kind of like seeing Fantastic Four, and not to get into the box office stuff too much, but like Fantastic Four's box office and seeing how that also very well received, very well liked from an audience and critics perspective, and the big opening weekend, but like a big drop on the second weekend. I feel where you're coming from, Pat, because I feel like there's definitely a push to being more like I don't really care for comic book films at this point from the general audience. So I just ask myself sometimes, like, is the push to have a new DC universe too late for it to make like that, to tell the grand scale stories that they want to tell? Or because I kind of see this as like from here on out we're gonna get lower budget comic book films that will do something. Yeah, because I feel like their way, like, Superman's profitable now. I feel like what was the budget, like 200 million or something like that?
225.
Yeah, so like double that, and they're like at 600 million at this point. So
yeah,
technically, it's making money now, but
barely making money, I think.
Yeah, it depends on the breakdown of it, but I feel like, yeah, like the days of $1 billion hits are gone. I don't think we're gonna get that as frequently as we used to back in.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure the next Spider-Man movie will make over $1 billion. But Spider-Man's one of the most profitable IPs in the world. Superman's been hit or miss over the years.
Yeah.
It's a big name, but I don't know.
Oh wait, I realize as we talk about all the different superheroes and characters they add into this film, guys, we're forgetting the meaning of these films. We're forgetting the core value of these films. Merchandise. Think about all the action figures and toys that are being produced, and the importance of continuing that tradition in Hollywood. If with the success of this film is to further that merchandise empire, we're going to see more toys. And I think that these are going to be very popular action figures for kids.
But will they sell? Because
we'll see. The Metamorpho toy.
We could have had a quadrilogy of Waterworld if the toys sold really well.
I am glad that this film is doing well. Like I said, although I am pretty apathetic about superhero movies in general, I looked forward to seeing this. I enjoyed this film. I will see the sequel to this whenever it comes out.
That ending scene left me happy when I left the theaters.
The whole movie left me happy. This is what I wanted from Superman. It delivered on it. I mean, do you want to give our ratings now?
Yeah, let's do it. What are our ratings? Ivan, as our guest, would you like to go first?
Are we rating things out of a 10 or a 5 scale, or like
A through F scale?
All right, I forgot you guys rate this differently. I feel like this movie is an A- for me, somewhere around there. If I'm taking an objective view here, I'm just saying it as a movie critic, I'd give it somewhere around a B+. As me personally, like, I feel like it's around an A for me.
You just said 3 different ratings, so
I know, but somewhere in between there is the truth. somewhere in there is.
I can list them all on the screen when I make the video if you want.
Yeah, do that.
B+, 2A.
I like it. I also like it more than I like it, but then at the same time, like, I objectively just like it enough. It's basically where we're at. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Somewhere in that mental gymnastics is my rating.
Okay. So split the difference, A-.
Yeah, we'll say A-. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay, there we go.
Anton?
Yeah, I was so happy with how this film turned out. I had said before, like, I really want it to do well. I don't have my rose-tinted glasses watching this. I know that it wasn't, personally for me, it wasn't like my favorite superhero movie of all time. But I think this is probably the best DC film put out in the past, I don't know, 40 years at this point. And I think that, trying not to disrespect like Christopher Nolan's Batman, which also is up there in the top tier, but for something that feels like it's a comic book that didn't have to ground itself to the reality and the cynicism of what Snyder tried to do, this was just a fun film, a very enjoyable film, and one that I think like looking from top to down, it's just very well done. I give this one a B plus. I don't put it in the A category. I just think it was a very well done film, and I think it leaves just enough for me to be really curious about the next films in the series and the next films in the universe.
This was not perfect, but it really did deliver on a lot of what I wanted from a Superman movie. I thought the casting was spot on. The performances were stellar. They nailed the tone thanks to James Gunn, and I think it was fun in all the right places. This has a real heart to it and a real soul to it that I felt like previous Superman movies lacked, really since the original 1978 Richard Donner one. I could have used maybe less secondary characters and a little more Superman, and I mentioned there were things about the plot that I thought were kind of silly, but this is such a vast improvement over Zack Snyder's version of the character, but I just can't help but be grateful. This is a very good popcorn flick. I hope DC builds on the momentum for this, and for me, this is already the second best Superman film ever. Superman gets a B. I really enjoyed it. Well, that's it for Superman. Ivan. Last minute guest. It was a pleasure.
Good times.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, guys. I was prepared to talk Christopher Reeve Superman, to be honest with you, just given that we never look at current films. So this was a pleasant surprise.
Oh, excellent. And I appreciate if the anyone on YouTube can see the 1980s music video style lighting that you have going on.
Yes.
That you brought. I expect that next time.
Yeah.
I will do my best to make sure that by next time you only see a full silhouette and no details of my face at all.
Oh, well, we'll have you back soon. I think it's going to be a Marvel movie. Not that we want to just pigeonhole you to comic book movies, but
watch other movies, guys.
We've had you on. We've had you on for those. Waterworld 2?
You know what? Bring me in for Sharknado. If you guys ever get in for Sharknado, I could talk your ear off.
I don't recall that being on the list, but if you want to make a case, we can talk about it later. That is it for this week's edition of Why Wasn't It Better? Thanks for listening, and see you next time.